Before you decide you already understand attraction, before you assume you have heard every dating theory, every psychological breakdown, every alpha explanation on the internet, I want you to pause because what you are about to hear is not comfortable. It will challenge how you see women. It will challenge how you see yourself. And if you are honest, it may expose mistakes you have been repeating for years without realizing it. Most men lose a woman long before she actually leaves, not because they were not attractive, not because they were not successful, but because they misunderstood one invisible shift that changes everything. One subtle behavior that signals she has emotionally chosen you. And the tragedy is this: when that moment happens, most men panic and ruin it. Tonight, we are not talking about flirting. We are not talking about pickup lines. We are not talking about manipulation. We are not talking about psychological positioning, the kind that makes her invest without you begging, the kind that makes her adjust without you demanding, the kind that makes her protect your respect without you asking for it. If you truly understand this, you will never chase the same way again. You will never overreact the same way again. You will never question where you stand the same way again. But you must stay until the end because each layer builds on the next. And if you miss one piece, you will misapply the rest. Listen carefully. This is not about controlling her. It is about mastering yourself. And that changes everything. Let's slow this down and really understand something most men completely misread. You think she likes you because she texts you first. You think she likes you because she laughs at your jokes. You think she likes you because she compliments your shirt, your voice, your maturity. No, that is surface level behavior. That is social interaction. That is attention exchange. Attention is the lowest currency in modern dating. It is everywhere. It is disposable. And because it is disposable, it has no real weight. The real shift happens when she begins to care about how you see her. There is a psychological difference between wanting someone's presence and wanting someone's approval. Presence satisfies loneliness. Approval challenges identity. When a younger woman is surrounded by attention, she does not value another source of it. She has options. She has validation. She has people reacting to her stories, her pictures, her words. Attention does not impress her. It entertains her. But approval, that is different. Approval forces self-reflection. The moment she starts wondering, does he respect me? Something deeper has begun. Because now she is no longer just enjoying your energy. She is measuring herself through your perception. And that is not casual. When she explains why she didn't reply, without you accusing her, she is not being polite. She is protecting your opinion of her. When she clarifies her intentions, when she adds context to her behavior, when she says, I hope you didn't misunderstand that, she is not just talking. She is adjusting her image in your mind because your perception now matters. Understand this carefully. People do not protect the opinions of those they do not value. They ignore them. They dismiss them. They move on. If she begins to feel uneasy at the thought that you might see her as unserious, immature, inconsistent, or disloyal, then emotionally she has already placed you above the crowd. That is investment. Psychologically, this is tied to identity validation. As human beings, we are constantly shaping who we are through the eyes of others, but not everyone's eyes carry equal weight. The opinions that affect us most come from those we respect, admire, or desire. So when she starts modifying her behavior to maintain your respect, it reveals something profound. She values your judgment, and value creates attachment. You see, attraction based on excitement is temporary. Attraction based on ego validation is unstable, but attraction based on earned approval is powerful because it activates something deeper than chemistry. It activates self-concept. If she feels she must earn your approval, she rises to meet a higher standard. And in rising, she invests effort. And effort creates emotional attachment. The more effort someone puts into maintaining your perception of them, the harder it becomes for them to detach. This is why emotional approval is far more significant than attention. Attention says, I enjoy you. Approval says, you matter to me. There is also a subtle shift in power dynamics when this happens. When she is seeking your approval, you are no longer competing for her interest. She is positioning herself within your world. She is evaluating whether she fits your standards. This is where many men fail. The moment they sense this shift, they become overly reassuring. They rush to confirm, they remove the tension, they flood her with validation. And in doing so, they eliminate the very dynamic that created the attraction. If approval is given too easily, it loses value. It becomes attention again. And attention, as we said, is cheap. The key is not to withhold approval cruelly. It is to give it consciously, calmly, without desperation, without overexcitement. When she behaves in alignment with your standards, you acknowledge it with subtle confidence. When she misaligns, you remain composed. You do not chase clarity. You allow silence to communicate standards. Silence is powerful because it forces reflection. If she senses distance after acting out of alignment and she moves closer emotionally to repair it, that is not manipulation. That is her internal desire to maintain connection with someone whose respect she values. This is not about controlling her. It is about understanding the psychology of human bonding. We attach to those whose perception influences us. If your opinion does not emotionally move her, she is not invested. But if your disappointment shifts her tone, if your approval brightens her mood, if your calm withdrawal creates introspection, then she is already psychologically leaning toward you. And the most important part is this: you cannot fake this dynamic. If you do not genuinely have standards, she will sense it. If you are secretly afraid of losing her, she will feel it. If your approval is based on fear rather than principle, it will collapse. Emotional approval only carries weight when it comes from a man who approves of himself first. This is philosophical as much as it is psychological. Approval from someone who lacks self-respect means nothing, but approval from someone who holds firm values, emotional discipline, and internal stability becomes significant. So the real question is not whether she seeks your approval. The real question is whether your approval is worth seeking. When you build yourself into a man of clarity, boundaries, and direction, her behavior will naturally reveal whether she values your perception. You won't need to decode every text. You will observe patterns. You will notice consistency. You will see her effort to maintain alignment. And when that effort appears repeatedly, calmly, subtly, without force, understand what is happening beneath the surface. She is not just talking to you. She is positioning herself in your reality, and once someone begins shaping themselves around your perception, they have already stepped beyond casual interest. So stop chasing attention. Stop measuring attraction by frequency of messages or flirtation. Start observing whether she protects your opinion of her. Because when she starts protecting your perception, she is protecting the connection. And when she protects the connection, she is already emotionally invested. Remember this deeply. Attention entertains, but approval transforms. If she cares how you see her, you are no longer competing for her interest. You are shaping her desire. Now let us go deeper into something that most men completely overlook because it does not look dramatic, it does not look romantic, it does not look cinematic, but psychologically, it is one of the strongest indicators of attachment. When she adjusts for you, she is already investing. Adjustment is not loud, it is subtle, it is quiet. It happens in tone, in timing, in wording, in behavior. And if you are not emotionally disciplined, you will miss it. When a younger woman softens her voice after sensing you pulled back slightly, that is not random. When she double checks what she said because she noticed your expression change, that is not coincidence. When she re engages after a moment of tension without you chasing her, that is not politeness. That is effort, and effort is emotional currency. You have to understand something fundamental about human psychology. We do not adjust for people we do not value. We do not edit ourselves for someone whose opinion does not matter. We do not invest emotional energy into maintaining connection with someone we can easily replace. Adjustment is a form of negotiation. It is her subconscious way of asking, how do I remain in alignment with this man's standards? When she senses misalignment and moves to correct it, she is not just fixing a moment. She is protecting her position in your world. And people only protect positions they fear losing. Think about this carefully. If she makes a joke that does not land well and later says, I did not mean it that way, she is not just clarifying, she is repairing perception. If she notices you went quiet after something she did and she reaches out with a softer tone, she is not being dramatic. She is recalibrating. Recalibrating is recalibrating. Now, here is where many men sabotage themselves. The moment they see her adjusting, they reward it with excessive reassurance. They over-explain their feelings. They rush to remove any tension. They flood her with comfort. And in doing so, they unintentionally stop the investment process, YID, because tension, when healthy and controlled, creates growth. It creates awareness. It invites effort. If every small misalignment is immediately erased by your need to comfort her, she never feels the need to step toward you. Attraction deepens when she moves closer, not when you chase her. Adjustment shows she is moving closer. It means she is paying attention to your reactions. It means your emotional state matters enough for her to monitor it. That alone is significant. In a world where attention spans are short and options are endless, the fact that she is observing your shifts is a powerful sign. This is not about manipulation. It is about awareness. When someone adjusts for you repeatedly, they are revealing that your standards are shaping their behavior. And that shaping process is how attachment forms. The more someone modifies themselves to remain aligned with you, the more invested they become in the connection. There is also something philosophical happening here. Adjustment is an act of humility. It is a silent acknowledgement that your perception holds weight. When she corrects herself, clarifies her tone, or returns after distance without ego, she is lowering her defenses slightly. That vulnerability is not accidental, but it must be handled with strength. If you become reactive, emotional, or accusatory, she will adjust out of fear. And fear-based adjustment creates resentment. That is not attraction. That is anxiety. The kind of adjustment that signals real investment comes from respect, not fear. It comes from wanting alignment, not avoiding punishment. Your role is to remain steady enough that her adjustment feels safe, not forced. When you do not overreact, when you do not dramatize small misalignments, you create space for her to step forward voluntarily. Voluntary effort is powerful. If she disappears briefly and then re engages with more warmth, that is not random. She is testing whether the connection still matters. If she senses your composure and responds by leaning in rather than pulling away, she is emotionally recalibrating T. Or would you? People lean toward what feels stable, and stability allows adjustment to become desire rather than obligation. There is a deeper psychological principle here called investment theory. The more someone invests into maintaining something, the more valuable it becomes to them. Effort creates attachment because we justify our effort by increasing the perceived value of what we are investing in. So, if she invests emotional effort to remain aligned with you, she will begin to see you as more valuable. Not because you told her you were valuable, not because you chased her, but because she worked for the connection. Effort breeds attachment, and attachment formed through effort is stronger than attachment formed through excitement alone. Now, you must be disciplined enough to recognize this without becoming arrogant. Adjustment does not mean ownership. It means potential, it means emotional direction. It means she is moving towards you. Your responsibility is to maintain your standards calmly, not raise them unpredictably, not withdraw to manipulate, not test her artificially. Consistency creates clarity. When your values remain steady, her adjustments become genuine rather than strategic. She aligns because she wants to, not because she feels she must. And when she chooses alignment repeatedly, something powerful happens internally. She begins to see herself in relation to you. She starts imagining how to maintain harmony. She thinks ahead before acting. She becomes conscious of your reactions. That level of awareness is not casual, it is investment. So the next time you notice her softening after tension, clarifying after misunderstanding, or re engaging without ego, do not dismiss it as small. Small adjustments are signs of deep psychological movement. The loud gestures are often temporary. The quiet adjustments reveal long term potential. If she adjusts once, observe. If she adjusts repeatedly, understand what that means. She is not just interested, she is investing. And the man who recognizes investment without exploiting it is the man who builds something real. Remember this clearly. Attraction is shown in excitement. Attachment is shown in adjustment. When she willingly moves toward alignment with you, she is already stepping into your world. The question is not whether she is investing. The question is whether you are steady enough to deserve that investment. Now, we need to address something that separates boys from men emotionally and psychologically. This is where everything either strengthens or collapses. Stability creates psychological gravity. You can be attractive, you can be successful, you can be intelligent. But if you are emotionally unstable, none of it will sustain attraction. Most men react. They react to delayed replies. They react to changes in tone. They react to perceived competition. They react to their own imagination, and every reaction chips away at their authority. Emotional reactivity signals insecurity. Insecurity weakens polarity. And once polarity weakens, attraction begins to erode. A younger woman is often used to emotional chaos. She is used to men her age who are impulsive, jealous, overly expressive, dramatic, and inconsistent. She is used to being chased one day and emotionally punished the next. She is used to intensity without direction. So when she encounters a man who does not emotionally flinch, something unfamiliar happens internally. Her nervous system slows down. She begins to feel safe. But understand this carefully. Safety alone does not create attraction. Safety combined with challenge does. And emotional stability is both. When you do not overreact to her behavior, you communicate that you are grounded. When your mood does not depend on her validation, you communicate independence. When you remain calm during tension, you communicate strength. That strength is not loud, it is not aggressive, it is controlled. Control over self is the highest form of power. When she senses that you are not easily shaken, she unconsciously places you in a different category. You are no longer competing for her attention. You are operating from self-possession. And self-possession creates psychological gravity. Gravity does not chase, it pulls. The reason stability is so powerful is because human beings are drawn to certainty. In a world that feels chaotic, emotionally unpredictable, and constantly shifting, stability feels rare. Rare things are valued. If she sends a message and you respond calmly without overanalyzing it, you demonstrate security. If she tests you subtly with a delayed response and you continue your life without panic, you demonstrate discipline. If she expresses emotion and you hold space without escalating it, you demonstrate maturity. Each of these moments builds weight. Now contrast this with the reactive man, the one who double texts when she does not respond quickly, the one who withdraws dramatically to punish her, the one who over-explains his feelings to regain control, the one whose tone shifts depending on her mood. That man is not stable. He is negotiating from fear. Fear dissolves attraction. Stability does not mean emotional coldness. It does not mean you suppress your feelings. It means your emotions are governed by reason rather than impulse. It means you choose your reactions rather than being controlled by them. There is something deeply masculine about restraint. Restraint shows that you are in control of your internal world. And if you can control your internal world, she assumes you can handle the external world too. This is where safety and challenge merge. She feels a faith because you are not volatile. She feels challenged because she cannot manipulate your emotional state easily. And that combination creates fascination. If she cannot predict your insecurity, if she cannot trigger jealousy at will, if she cannot destabilize you with minor shifts, she begins to respect you on a different level. Respect fuels attraction far more than excitement does. Excitement is temporary. Respect is enduring. Psychologically, emotional stability signals high self-worth. When you do not chase reassurance, when you do not collapse under ambiguity, when you allow space without anxiety, you are communicating that your life is full and structure is attractive. Many men think passion creates desire, but uncontrolled passion creates instability. Real desire grows in an environment where emotions are steady enough to allow depth. Imagine this. She senses slight distance. She wonders if something is wrong. Instead of reacting emotionally, you remain composed. You speak clearly. You maintain your routine. You do not interrogate. You do not accuse. She feels the tension, but she does not feel chaos. That tension becomes curiosity instead of conflict. Curiosity turns into pursuit. This is psychological gravity in motion. Your stability forces her to confront her own emotional patterns. If she is used to drama and you refuse to participate in it, she must either rise to your level or disconnect. And if she values your perception, she will rise. But you cannot fake stability. It must be built. It is built through purpose, through routine, through self-respect, through not centering your identity around her responses. When your life remains full, regardless of her presence, you stop negotiating emotionally. You become anchored. Anchored men are rare, and rarity increases value. Here is the philosophical truth beneath all of this. When you control your reactions, you control your reality. When you control your reality, you become less dependent on outcomes. And when you are less dependent on outcomes, you become more attractive. Because detachment from outcomes signals abundance, not arrogance, not indifference. Abundance. She does not feel pressure from you. She feels presence. She feels direction. She feels emotional leadership. She feels emotional leadership. Emotional leadership is what most relationships lack. If she senses that in moments of uncertainty you remain clear, that in moments of tension you remain calm, that in moments of ambiguity you remain grounded, she will begin to lean into your stability. And leaning becomes attachment. Remember this carefully. Stability is not about suppressing emotion. It is about mastering it. It is about responding rather than reacting. It is about holding your frame when circumstances try to move you. The man who cannot control himself will always try to control the woman. The man who controls himself never needs to. So if you want psychological gravity, stop focusing on her behavior and start mastering your reactions. Build a life that does not wobble with every text. Develop emotional discipline that does not crumble under uncertainty. Because when your presence feels steady, when your energy feels grounded, when your reactions feel measured, she will not feel chaos around you. She will feel gravity. And gravity does not beg, it does not chase. It simply pulls everything toward it. Become the man whose calm cannot be disturbed, and watch how quickly her emotions begin to orbit around your stability. Now, let us address something that most men misunderstand completely. Respect is more powerful than presence. You think she is attached because she wants to see you. You think she is attached because she misses you. You think she is attached because she gets upset when you pull away. That is surface level attachment. Real attachment reveals itself when she fears losing your respect more than losing your attention. There is a massive psychological difference between those two things. Attention satisfies emotion. Respect validates identity. If she loses your attention, she may feel disappointed. If she loses your respect, she feels diminished. And human beings will fight harder to protect their identity than their comfort. When a younger woman begins to value your respect, something shifts internally. She no longer just wants your time. She wants to be seen by you in a certain light. She wants to be perceived as intelligent, mature, loyal, emotionally composed, worthy. That desire changes her behavior. If she senses you are disappointed and it genuinely unsettles her, that is not ego, that is investment. If she apologizes, not just to restore conversation, but to restore your perception of her, that is not weakness. That is alignment. Because she understands that once respect is lost, rebuilding it is difficult. Presence is replaceable. There will always be another message, another date, another man offering attention. But respect is rare, especially from a man who does not give it easily. This is why you must be careful with your standards. If you respect everything she does, your respect has no weight. If you tolerate behavior that contradicts your values, your disappointment becomes meaningless. Respect only carries power when it is rooted in principle. So when she sees that you have standards and that those standards do not shift based on your desire for her, she begins to measure herself against them. That is where attachment deepens, because now she is not just interacting with you emotionally. She is evaluating herself morally and psychologically through your lens. Think about the moments when she corrects herself before you even respond. Think about when she says, I know you probably did not like that, before you express it. That is not coincidence. That is awareness. She is aware of your standards. Awareness means she cares. Now, here is where many men destroy this dynamic. They become overly critical. They weaponize disappointment. They use silence as punishment. They create fear instead of respect. Fear-based compliance is not attraction. It is anxiety. Respect must feel earned, not withheld as control. If she feels that your respect is based on integrity rather than ego, she will rise to meet it. If she feels that your standards are stable rather than emotional, she will trust them, and trust in your standards strengthens attraction. Because psychologically, women are drawn toward men whose internal compass feels steady. A man without standards is easy to please, and anything easy to please is easy to lose. But a man who protects his values communicates something powerful. He communicates that being in his life requires alignment, and alignment requires effort. Effort increases investment. When she begins to fear disappointing you more than losing your daily messages, that is when you know something real is forming, because she is no longer focused on attention. She is focused on maintaining your perception, and perception shapes identity. If she believes you see her as mature, she will try to act mature. If she believes you see her as strong, she will try to be strong. If she believes you see her as inconsistent, she will either improve or withdraw. Your perception becomes a mirror. But here is the responsibility that comes with that comes with that comes. If you praise too easily, it loses meaning. If you withdraw respect dramatically over small mistakes, you create instability. Respect must be calm, it must be consistent. IT must be proportionate. This is emotional leadership. Emotional leadership is not domination. It is clarity. When she knows exactly what earns your respect and what weakens it, she feels secure. Predictability in standards creates safety, and safety allows respect to grow instead of fear. If she disagrees with you but maintains composure because she does not want to fall in your estimation, that is powerful. If she reflects after conflict and comes back with accountability, that is powerful. If she becomes mindful of how her actions align with your values, that is powerful. Because now the connection is not based on excitement alone. It is based on mutual elevation. You are not just spending time together, you are influencing each other's character. And when influence becomes mutual, attachment becomes meaningful. The moment she thinks, I do not want him to see me as less, she has emotionally stepped into your frame. But you must deserve that position. If you lack integrity, your respect is hollow. If you compromise your values for temporary comfort, your disappointment becomes hypocritical. And hypocritical destroys attraction faster than conflict ever could. So build yourself into a man whose respect actually matters. Be consistent in your word. Be measured in your reactions. Be clear in your expectations. When your character feels solid, your approval feels valuable. And valuable approval is addictive, not because it is manipulative, but because it represents something rare in a world full of casual validation. Understand this clearly. She may enjoy your attention. She may crave your presence. But if she protects your respect, she is protecting something much deeper. She is protecting how she exists in your eyes. And when someone begins shaping their behavior to remain worthy in your perception, they have already emotionally committed on a level I may not even consciously admit. So stop chasing attention. Stop measuring connection by frequency of contact. Observe instead whether she guards your respect. Because when she fears losing your respect more than losing your time, you are no longer just an option in her life. You are a standard. And people do not walk away easily from standards they choose to rise toward, support toward, Become the man whose respect is earned, not given, and you will never have to question where you stand. Now we come to the foundation of everything we have discussed. Self-control is the ultimate attraction. You can understand emotional approval. You can recognize adjustment. You can maintain stability. You can protect respect. But if you cannot control yourself, none of it will last. Right, because at the center of attraction is not strategy, it is discipline. Most men believe attraction is about what you say, how you dress, how you text, how you position yourself. But those are external tactics. External tactics may create sparks, they do not create longevity. Longevity is created by internal regulation. When you cannot regulate your emotions, you begin to chase. When you chase, you overinvest. When you overinvest, you lose leverage. And when you lose leverage, you start negotiating your standards. That is the collapse. Self-control is not suppression. It is mastery. It is the ability to feel desire without becoming desperate. It is the ability to feel uncertainty without becoming anxious. It is the ability to feel attraction without becoming anxious. It is the ability to feel attraction without abandoning your priorities. When you have self-control, you are not pulled by impulse. You are guided by intention, and intention creates direction. A younger woman is often surrounded by emotional intensity, men who are easily triggered, men who are reactive, men who are obsessive, men who are unpredictable. Emotional chaos is common. Emotional discipline is rare. Rare qualities create value. When she senses that your life does not pause because of her mood, she feels something different. When she sees that you continue your routine, your goals, your purpose, regardless of her fluctuations, she recognizes strength. Strength without aggression, confidence without noise, confidence without noise, confidence without noise. Self-control signals abundance. It tells her you are not dependent on her responses to feel secure. It tells her that you enjoy her presence but do not require it to function. And that subtle difference changes everything. Dependency repels, direction attracts. If she feels that you are building something meaningful in your life, and that she must align with that direction to stay in your world, she will naturally invest more. But if she feels that your direction bends around her, attraction weakens because now she feels responsible for your emotional state, and no one wants to carry that burden long term. Self-control allows you to maintain your frame. Frame is not dominance. It is emotional consistency. It is knowing who you are, what you value, and how you respond. It is not changing your standards because you are afraid of losing someone. If she cancels plans and you calmly reschedule without resentment, that is self-control. If she tests your patience and you respond with composure rather than sarcasm, that is self-control. If you feel jealousy and choose clarity instead of accusation, that is self-control. Each moment builds respect. Each moment reinforces that your emotions are governed by reason. And reason creates trust. Trust is deeply attractive because it provides security, but security combined with self-control creates admiration. Admiration is what sustains desire. Without self-control, you become predictable in the wrong way. You become emotionally available on demand. You become overly expressive when insecure. You become cold when hurt. Your behavior becomes reactive rather than intentional. Reactive men create unstable dynamics. Disciplined men create polarity. There is also a philosophical layer to this. The person who cannot control himself will always attempt to control others. He will try to control her schedule, her friendships, her behavior, her choices. Why? Because he cannot manage his internal fear. But the man who controls himself has no need to control her. He sets boundaries calmly. He communicates expectations clearly. He walks away if alignment does not exist, and he does so without emotional theatrics. That quiet strength is powerful because it communicates that your peace is non negotiable. And when she senses that your peace is stable and protected, she feels safer stepping closer. She knows that your reactions will not explode. She knows that your mood will not collapse. She knows that your affection is measured, not chaotic. She knows that your affection feels intentional. Intentionality feels valuable. You must also understand that self-control protects you from self-sabotage. Many connections fail not because of incompatibility, but because of emotional impulsivity. One reactive message, one insecure accusation, one moment of uncontrolled frustration can undo weeks of slow investment. Discipline prevents that destruction. When you pause before responding, when you reflect before reacting, when you prioritize long-term alignment over short-term ego, you operate from maturity. Maturity is magnetic. And here is the final truth. Self-control gives you choice. Without discipline, you are controlled by circumstances. With discipline, you choose how to engage. You choose when to invest. You choose when to withdraw. You choose how much access someone has to you. Choice is power. When she senses that you are choosing her rather than clinging to her, she feels valued instead of burdened. When she senses that you are steady enough to walk away if standards are broken, she respects the connection more. Respect strengthens attachment. Everything we discussed comes back to this one principle. Emotional approval only matters if you can regulate your need for it. Adjustment only works if you do not exploit it. Stability only attracts if it is genuine. Respect only holds weight if you live by your values, and none of that is possible without self-control. So build discipline in silence. Strengthen your emotional regulation privately. Create routines that ground you. Develop goals that extend beyond her presence. Because when you master yourself, you no longer need to chase outcomes. And the man who does not chase is the man who is pursued. Remember this clearly. Attraction begins with interest, but it is sustained by discipline. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead a dynamic. Control your emotions, protect your standards, and move with intention. Master yourself, and you will never have to ask whether she is yours.